It is August 8th, 2019. Welcome to another edition of the Josh Scanlon Podcast. I am stoked to bring this interview with you here today. We're going to talk to Sara Grillo, Grillo, who helps people become financial advisors. I get this question a lot from younger folks who are starting their careers and looking to be in financial advisory, and then from second career folks. And I cannot wait to share Sara's experience with you because a lot of it kind of is just like mine. She's probably about 10 years younger than me or so, but a lot of the same experiences I went through. And I tell you, man, if you're going to be a financial advisor, this can be a big, big help for you for sure. Sara, I tell you, I got a lot of nuggets just out of this an hour-long conversation. How can I say this? I was surprised. Not that I was surprised by Sara, because I'm impressed by her. The reason I asked her on the podcast because I think she kicks butt and takes names. But I hate to say it, I was expecting a lot of the boilerplate stuff we always hear. And it wasn't like that at all. I thought I was amazed, actually. Some of the nuggets she provided were just fantastic. And if you're looking to become a financial advisor, you absolutely need to sign up for her website, her newsletter. You can hire her for, I think it's like $35 a month. She does some training, just the hourly consultations, the whole thing. And I would highly suggest you do because she's coming at it from a different perspective than at least from the sales guys that I was trained under. And I imagine a lot of the same thing out there as we are sitting there today. And the reason I say this, I follow LinkedIn, I follow Facebook. I get all the solicitations on how to grow my business. I help financial advisors, whatever, become millionaires and all that. A lot of that stuff, I could care. I mean, it's all the same. It's all rote. It's all boilerplate. And what I like about Sara, she goes, you can't do that. You can't do that. So if a guy is reaching out to me, he sees I'm a financial advisor. He goes, I help financial advisors land that best client stuff. That guy is suffering himself. No way I'm going to trust him to land me as a client or help me land clients when he can't land me. Simply because he doesn't know what he's doing either. He's taking the wrong approach. You've got to take a different approach. And so financial advisory isn't to show how smart you are. It's to show how much you care. I cannot stress this enough. And you do that by telling, you do it by listening. And so Sara just provided a bunch of free nuggets. And I don't know what her $35 a month thing, but if this is the kind of stuff you get for free, I can only imagine the level of professionalism and help that you'll get through her $35 a month thing. All right. So a couple things. I said this a million times on Sunday, and I'll put a link in the show notes to both these books. You got to read Nick Murray. Without question, you got to read Nick Murray's The New Financial Advisor. Why do I say that? Because I read it and it completely changed my life, not only as a financial advisor, but as a human being as well. You got to buy Aaron Helmsley's and Darcy Brown Helmsley's stuff on their website for psychology of sales, maximizing your sales. It's again, just fundamentally life-changing for me. You got to read the book by Larry Kolikoff, Spend Till the End, because yes, that is for consumers, but you are a financial advisor to consumers. You got to understand this stuff, man. You got to know differently than what everybody else is doing. You can't just say, I got a whole life insurance policy, or I got investment. No one cares. Nobody cares. They've heard it all before. You got to come at it from a different perspective, a different point of view. I'd argue that you need to go on horsesmouth.com and sign up for that too. So you got Nick Murray, you got Kolikoff, sign up for his stuff. I talked a million times on Sunday about Bob Keebler. You got to read his stuff for sure. You got to go on Advisor Perspectives, which is where Sara writes, bi-weekly? Is that every 2 weeks? Bi-monthly, something like that. And then you get to Horse's Mouth, Nick, I guess I said it all, and then Nick Murray's newsletter. So I'll put links and all that for the show notes. But, man, you got to know this stuff, my friends, because if you don't, you're going to miss the boat. And the point is that you can't just be, I got a good product. No one cares about your product. No one cares. No one cares about your company. No one cares about your product. No one cares. They care about themselves. And you've got to understand that. What's in it for me? So if I'm the prospective client, what's in it for me? You always got to remember that. And until you can solve that, what's in it for me, you're not going to succeed. So how do you solve that? Well, you got to find out what is in it for them, what they need it for them to be. So you got to ask, what are you looking for? You got to ask the question up front. You've got to. Now, the one thing, all these people, I think, the challenges in the old days when I was coming up, my previous boss, a wonderful guy, he was about 15 years before me. And in those days, you could do seminars, which were relatively new, and you could cold call. And that's what he did, seminars and cold calls. So when I came up in the early 2000s, the Do Not Call list that came out, And the seminar, I still like seminars for sure, but the days of steak dinners and stuff with what's called plate liquors, those days were few. I could afford it, first of all, and second of all, no one, everyone knew that the game was we already knew what was going on there, so it just wasn't successful, that's for sure. So at the end of the day, there was never anyone to say what the new mechanism of getting in front of people was, because you have to talk to people. And that's what I liked about Nick Murray's thing. Nick Murray's book, The New Financial Advisor, goes, just you got a story. You've got to tell it to 20 people a day. And that just is a game. It was literally a game of numbers. It actually has a book, The Game of Numbers. And you just got to tell your story. And again, how do you tell your story if you're asking questions? Well, you tell your story by asking questions. Are you at all comfortable in your current retirement plan? And just be quiet. And like Sara talks about, say it in 2 sentences. Again, another great tidbit, another great nugget. Are you all comfortable in your current tax situation? Do you have any concerns about the tax situation in the future? Do you have any concerns about Social Security? There's so many things to ask. Are you familiar with how Medicare works? I would start with that, frankly. And I'd probably start with Social Security because I'm not an insurance guy. But I would ask, are you at all familiar with how Social Security works? Would you like a written, comprehensive examination? The best time for you to take Social Security? I would go knocking on doors, businesses, anybody. Just go up to them. I know it's weird. It is weird. This is a people business. It's blocking and tackling. So you might have the best skill set ever, but until you can get that out there, no one's going to know. And the world is littered with smart guys who couldn't make a sale because no one wanted to buy from them. And because either A, they kept in their freaking office on the 36th floor, or B, they were just too afraid to ask for the order. At some point, you got to ask for business. You got to say, are you at all concerned about Social Security? Yeah, I am. Would you like to have an analysis on how it works for it? Yeah, okay. Come to my office, or whatever it is. I don't know. I'll meet you at the graveyard at midnight. I used to do that stuff, man. I'd knock on doors. Man, I'd be all over the Shenandoah Valley, just anywhere and anywhere. And yet I was having a hard time making it by because I was doing it wrong. And now, 15 years later, I see, I was doing it. I should have done it differently. But hey, it's learning, man. It's all learning. And I didn't have the money, the staying power to stay in the business long enough. I wish I would have. I just did not. 4 kids, 1 income. The market was falling across the board. I didn't have the resources. So you'll get a lot out of this video or this podcast if you're looking to become a financial advisor. I hope you listen to it. Go to Sara's website, saragrillo.com, and saragrillo.com. And of course, if you see this on Anchor or Apple, whatever you get your podcast, put 5 stars, give me a good rating, and the comments are always welcome. All right, we'll see you next time. All right, my friends, welcome again to another episode of the Josh Scanlon Podcast. I know you are glad you are here. Another exciting episode here today. I got a partner, Sara Grillo. Is that how you pronounce your last name, Sara?
It is.
All right. Many of you from Spanish-speaking backgrounds might say Grillo because Grillo, but Sara Grillo. And I get this question a lot, my friends, about, Josh, I want to be a financial advisor. What do I do first? And Sara's going to help us with that because I tell you, I get that question a ton in my email box. And then on top of that, I've been encouraging a lot of you guys to make a second career as a financial planner because I think we have this a huge need, as I've said many times, for competent financial planning that's not asset-based. We're not going to run money, i.e. Work for a fee based on terms of 1% assets under management fee. And I think there's many of you who have the chops to do this. And I get that question a lot too, because I think there's this dearth of qualified, competent people who can give quality advice without charging 1% assets under management. And I'm praying to the good Lord upstairs that the business will slowly, or actually I should say quickly, turn from where we are now with the silliness of assets under management fee into actually a real fee for service. So Sara, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my friends, if you hear noise in the background, i.e. children playing, that's because Sara has her windows open in New York City and the playground for her kids are in daycare right across the street. So we might be able to have the luxury of hearing children laughing in the playground. How awesome is that?
Well, more like I wish it was laughing, but more likely it's like tantrum or screaming because they're 2 and 3. I mean, let's just be real, Josh. You know me. That's why you're having me on here, because I'm as real as you, right? But I have, for everybody, Josh is going to talk about my background or whatever, but one thing I think that's been like the most defining characteristic of my life at the moment is the fact I have 4 children under 6 years old. Okay. Let me see, 5, 3, 2, and 4 months old. So, and that, by the way, has taught me more about business than like my MBA, my CFA, my Harvard bachelor's, anything. Okay. We'll get to that. So it's directly
Sara
applicable.
The hardest working woman and man, frankly, in investment business or financial planning, because when Sara actually interviewed me, I'd say 4 or 5 months ago, maybe I guess 3 months ago now, there's a brand new bouncing baby in her crib behind her. And I said, whoa, man, that's nuts that she was getting on the podcast. So Sara, just give us the background. Where are you from first and foremost?
I'm from Boston.
All right.
Linfield, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston.
All right. Gotcha.
Shout out Boston. Woo, woo, woo. Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins. Yeah. Patriots.
You missed one.
Patriots.
I was gonna say, good night, man. What the? All right, so I got so for all of you St. Louis Blues fans, we don't like you anymore. But anyway, so Sara's from Boston, and then tell us, how'd you end up, in the financial planning realm? I mean, what brought you to this, aspect of your career for sure?
I was a college student, and I had to work to pay for college, and I was walking home one day through what was Post Office Square. I think it's been renamed. Well, no, I think it's still Post Office Square in Boston. But anyways, and I had on one of those like awful tuxedo uniforms. I used to have to wear a skirt and one of those tuxedo bow tie things with a frilly top. It was just awful.
Why
it was really
did
awful.
You have to wear that? I don't get it.
It was like a real kind of formal restaurant.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
right, so you're working at it. Okay, I thought you had to wear that.
I was working like bussing tables or something like that. I don't even think I was a waitress. That was how bad, for like whatever, $8 an hour.
Right.
I think was whatever the minimum wage was at that point. And I was walking through and I saw the ticker tape on what was then called Dreyfus Investments.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Lion. Yeah.
Yep. And so I was so fascinated by that. I thought, And so I read about things and I started, I made my own paper portfolio because, I didn't have any money at that point, but then I got money and it grew. And I had an internship at Fidelity Investments right across the river from where I went to school. Ooh. And that was a great experience. And just, I was an English major and got a job at answering RFPs right out of college, which was good. Because it taught me about what people do and what they don't pay attention to. And that's what I'm going to just probably be speaking a lot about in today's show when we talk about becoming a financial planner and developing your business.
Yeah.
I have some content prepared on that. But yeah, so I've been doing this a while.
So your dad didn't teach you stock investments like we hear a lot in various other podcasts. Like, oh, my dad showed me a stock chart. It wasn't anything like that. It was just almost serendipity.
Yeah, it was. My parents were kind of free-spirited with me. Like, they didn't try to mold me at all. I actually don't know if I would quite use the same approach with my own kids. I'm not teaching them or telling them what exactly to go into, but my parents never told me what to go into. I am telling them, though, to make a lot of money. And I'm just serious about that. And it's not that I'm trying to teach them to be salacious or anything like that. But I just think, given what the cost of living is, I don't want my kids to grow up thinking they can survive on $30,000 a year. Like I've already told them, 2-3 years old, one of the things I'm telling them right away is you need to earn $100,000 a year when you get working.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have an older brother.
Is he
my best friend? He's my best friend. He's my best friend. Yep.
Okay. Is he in the business?
No. Different. Biotech.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So then you went to school in Boston and then you said you got your job at Fidelity up in Boston, I imagine. Then somehow you're now in New York. How did you end up down here or down there? I should say.
I being from Boston, I just kind of wanted a little bit of a change and I didn't want to get on a plane and go too far away from my parents because I'm really close with my family. But I just loved the energy. I remember when I was in college, high school, I wanted to go to college at Columbia, and my dad took me on a trip. And we checked out New York, and it was in August, and August in Manhattan is like really vibrant. And I just remember the energy was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I just knew it was where I wanted to be for the rest of my life. But then I got into college near home. I went near home to Harvard, and didn't go to Columbia. But then afterwards, I moved to New York because I don't know. And to this day, I just love New York. I got kids with a New York guy. He's a New York native. So, and it's great raising kids here in New York City. A lot of people, like my family, is like, oh my God, you mean you don't have like a caravan and live in the suburbs and everything? And I'm like, no, it's great. I mean, you pay so much tax here in New York, but the beneficiary of that is my kids, right? Because like I have them in public school and we use the public playgrounds and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of people from Boston say, Boston is like small compared to New York. And it's funny because if I'm from Maine, and Boston is always a big city. It's just funny that, for you, Boston didn't have the same vibe in terms of energy as New York did. It's just, I always kind of cracks me up when I hear that.
Well, I just know Boston. I don't know Boston proper as Boston. I know Boston as my little hometown with my family, and like my family's lived in the same house my whole life. Like they've lived there for 50 years. My parents, like they're always going to live there. That's how I think of Boston.
Yeah, understood. All right. Well, that's cool, man. So then, if I recall, you started as a financial advisor at some point. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what happened was I had a lot of pressure on me because going to Harvard, you always get pushed in the direction of, okay, you got to be an investment banker, you got to be a management consultant, or you got to go to med school, or you got to go to law school. And there was recruiting for that. But if you didn't want to do that, there was literally nothing else that you could do. And I regret, it was really bad. Like there was it was called the Office of Career Services. There was one little place where you could go, and there were all these shelves with books on them that were very outdated, like alumni records and stuff that you could contact, and like names of advertising agencies and stuff like that. But I had no guidance, and I was very lost. College was a really kind of identity crisis time for me. I'm really kind of lucky I didn't have a nervous breakdown or get into bad stuff because I was so lost. Because I also went from being like awesome in high school, like from a small town, was like captain of the track team, president of the class, top student, everything. And then I went to Harvard, and it was like I was nothing. Like I was just middle of the road, had to work a lot, didn't have the privilege that a lot of other people had. Like, like you had kids coming from New York City proper that went to Harvard that were like reading the New York Times, and here I was, this kind of like, I'm Italian, like kind of traditional Italian girl, close with the family, like didn't do too much else in life other than just like be that student protected by my family, everything, which I don't begrudge them at all for that. Like I love that life that I had, but let me tell you, quite a shock. And I'm actually really lucky something bad didn't happen to me, because that's really literally how lost I was. But I was always this really like great writer. But I was not encouraged to pursue that because Harvard didn't have like, oh, here's this career event for people that want to go into media. Here's this career, because I could have been like a famous writer at that point. I mean, I'm a well-known writer now, but I came into that gradually by way of being involved in investment management, because I felt like I had to go through go become a portfolio manager, because that was what people from Harvard did. And if you didn't do that, like one person I know wanted to be like a first grade teacher, and everyone was like, you went to Harvard to go be a first grade teacher? Like you weren't allowed to do that. There was really a lot of social pressure, and I don't blame anybody. Like I was young. I maybe should have sought more mentorship than I did. But that's one thing I just would tell anybody is get a mentor. Like I follow the great Grant Cardone, the sales trainer. Yeah. He's changed my life. I don't really think I can say that about anybody else that I've had as a mentor, so to speak. And he's not my mentor one-on-one, but I bought a few products of his, right? But just go get that guidance. And I think I tried to find a few mentors, but then they weren't good mentors. They were like, I don't know, like I never had anyone that really rocked me. And I really kind of felt like I should have, because that would have brought me more into alignment and led me to where I am. But so anyways, I went into financial. I was like an investment analyst. I worked at Lehman Brothers. I got downsized from Lehman. And then after that, I was just like so sick of it. I was, like the financial, the pretension. I was sick of the financial jargon. Like to someone who's highly literate and extremely creative and thinks out of the box. Like for me to be in this financial industry where everyone's talking this BS language, saying BS with their word, like just, it would just put the worst, like it was the worst experience for me. And Lehman was like the pinnacle of it. All the cliches and jargon and all the, like just the BS. I had so much of it that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start my own firm. I'm just going to, because people were coming to me when I was unemployed after Lehman, and like, I was trying to get back in. I was trying so hard to get back in. I was like, no, I have to be an analyst. I have to be an analyst. I have to be a portfolio manager, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm going to live up to the expectations, right? And then what happened was someone that I went to business school with, I went to NYU, someone from NYU, that I knew said to me, like, Sarah, you know, my father is retiring and we have his 401k and I don't know what to do. Can you talk with my father? Well, his father ended up hiring me. Yeah. Right. And so like, here I am, I have no LLC. His father's like, look, can you just kind of look over my money? Cause I trust you. Cause it was just an honest conversation, like happening around the dinner table. Right. I'm sitting there and the guy's like, can you do this for me? And I remember it was in Starbucks, actually. It was in the middle of Starbucks. And he's like, okay, so now you've given me this advice, but I want you to actually do this for me. I can't do this. And so here I am. I have no LLC. I have no company name. I have no idea what the laws are, like if I can even actually do this. But I'm like, sure, sign me up. Like, I'll send you a contract. Where do I get a contract? And then it was like, well, how do I set this up? You know, so, and that's just one thing I would say to all of you people that are looking to get into the business, Josh, because I don't know if you want to go into like the point of, you know, the question to answer on the show is how do you start a financial?
Keep going.
Can I jump in? Okay. So that is, and I actually love that I started my entrepreneurship career that way as in finance, because I think it was very genuine and very sincere. And I think that many people, when they go to start out a business, they get preoccupied with like, wait, what should my email like be? What should my domain name be? What should my website look like? It's like, throw that BS out the window, go out there, talk to everybody you know and ask them, what questions do you have about retirement?
Right.
Like start with a question. Don't start with a presentation of, well, here's my firm and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Because then people are like I get this all the time. People are like, I want to start a firm. I don't know what to write on the website. You shouldn't know what to write on the website, dude. You have nothing to say yet. Right. Like, go find out about yourself. Go find out. Are you going to be good working with retired people? Are you going to be good working with like veterinarians, business owners? You don't know yet. Like, just don't waste your time with all of the setup. Now, granted, I'm not going out there and saying, go and break laws. Like, you do have to register if you have a certain amount of clients within certain states, and like, know the law. I absolutely think you shouldn't. Like, have a legal contract that people sign to protect yourself. I do think you should get all the legal stuff set up, but there's nothing that can take you like a month or two. Okay. You don't want to be one of these people that goes about getting the website and the brand, the logo. You don't want to be one of these logo people. Like, I'm going to pay someone $3,000 to go design a logo for me. And then a year from now, I'm going to find out it doesn't fit at all what my brand is, because I didn't know what my brand was when I said, right? Like, Don't be one of those people. Go and talk to people in your life while you are setting up your LLC. It's going to take a month, month and a half, whatever. Go and just talk to people. Get a list of people. And write down everybody that is in your trust base, like people that you went to college with, because that's where my first client ever came from. It was the father of someone I went to business school with. And I mean, even that guy himself worked at Goldman Sachs, but he worked in technology. And even if he did work in Goldman Sachs, his father didn't have enough money to be with a private banker at Goldman Sachs. So like, even if you are in a financial kind of clique or network, understand that not everybody in finance can manage money or can do this or even wants to do this. So don't count out those people that are even working at financial firms. Like, I once met with a famous hedge fund manager and he's like, what do you think of my portfolio? When I was a financial advisor, and I'm like, you're a hedge fund manager. Like, I read about you in Barron's. This is so weird. And who am I to you? And like, you're asking me for financial advice, but it's the guy's like, look, you know, he's like,
I don't do this. I do hedge fund managing. I don't do, you know what I'm saying? Exactly.
He's like, no, he's like, I don't want my wife. And by the way, this is another thing. A lot of people, even who are in the business like this, he's like, I don't want my wife getting mad at me if I lose money.
Oh man, good point. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, if you're a hedge fund manager and you lose a bunch of clients' money, you can go home to your wife and your dinner's still going to be on the table. You know what I'm saying? You lose your wife's money, you may be sleeping on the couch.
A little bit different perspective when it's not your money as opposed to when it's your actual man. That's that is a great way to look at it. You're losing your wife's money. Who's going to hold you accountable? You're losing, and literally accountable. You're losing your client's money. That's actually an interesting way to look at managing someone else, hiring someone to manage your money versus doing it yourself. Because when you do it yourself, you take a little bit more cautious approach. That's funny.
Well, that was the reason even that first client hired me too, is that we were sitting there in Starbucks and he's like, look, you know, I made a mistake with money and my wife got mad at me and I don't want to get divorced. So she said, I have to hire somebody.
Well, not that's there when you think about it, not just, you know, getting yelled at by the wife, but also it's easier to take the path of least resistance, i.e. just be a lot more conservative than you should be because you're so afraid of losing money that you're like, I don't want to have the negative ramifications. You lost our money. We're down 40%. And you know,
she'll never forget it.
Right. Exactly.
Like a client's not going to email you every day, first thing in the morning, and be like, you lost my money, you lost my money, you lost my money. Because inevitably, either they're going to sue you, leave and then sue you, or they're going to get tired of emailing it, or it's going to get resolved. But the client's not going to email you every day about it. But your wife will mention it every day.
Oh, and for the rest of your life. So
for the rest of your life.
So now let's go into the business side. So now what are you doing now? Tell us, first and foremost, you have a YouTube channel, you blog on Advisor Perspectives, which is where I think we connected originally. Because I tell people all the time I'm a big on Advisor Perspectives, but tell us, you know, what you're doing now. So you said, screw all that. I'm going to go and start advising advisors. Tell us how that shook out and what you're doing right now.
Well, what happened was I was a financial advisor.
Yeah.
At an insurance company, and also had my like RIA license, registrations, etc. Like I was also doing fee-based business. And I had my second baby, and I just always kind of knew I wanted to have more kids.
Yeah.
And so it was just getting impossible because I had one baby that was a little over a year old. I had just had another baby, and it became almost impossible to meet people in person and then to have to go through all of the paperwork that you had to fill out, either that or be running back and forth to the post office like it was going out of style. Because, you know, with insurance, it's a lot of like handwritten applications, which I still even, it was like killing me. Like I would have to go. I remember when I had my second baby, I would have to go. I remember nursing the baby, sitting at my desk at the insurance company. Okay. And I mean, I hope no one from that insurance company is listening, but I actually was nursing a baby in my cubicle with one hand and filling out insurance applications for my clients with another hand. And it just was ridiculous. And then my kids would like get sick, $90 a day to have one kid in daycare.
Yeah.
Kids get sick. The daycare was so expensive, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, and the other thing is, I just have always felt like I was really meant to just be a writer because I'm so just creative. Like, I have all these thoughts ping-ponging around in my mind. Mm-hmm. I'm voluminous in my content. Like, I have clients that I do marketing for. Like, I write blogs for people. I do websites for people. I run social media campaigns for finance. It's all basically at this point financial firms. But like, if I didn't, that's one thing that I do. But a big part of what I do as well is marketing my own firm using the internet. And I feel like as much as I do right now, I have a podcast. I write an article a week. I have a newsletter a week. I have a YouTube channel. All these things I do, I feel like I could be doing 5 times as much. Like that's how many ideas I have in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just always kind of felt like it was my calling in life. Like going back to the Harvard thing, like the expectations led me astray, but I do feel like I'm more meant to be a creative person because, to be honest with you, like doing a tax return or like financial plans, like I don't even, first of all, I'm like a nervous wreck about money. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, I'm way too uptight about my own money, I think, to even be considered. I don't know how I could even imagine myself managing money in real life. But I was not interested, and I was a very average financial advisor, very average, never went above the norm, never had anything insightful to say.
Yeah.
Never was like one of these people that would, like, the clients would walk out of the meeting and be like, she's awesome. Whereas like I get that, like, she's awesome, like I get that all the time in the work I'm doing now.
The creative juices, understood. I mean, I'm just like you. People say, how do you do all this YouTube stuff? I said, man, if you see my working file of stuff I want to talk about, I'll never do it all. And it's just
right.
Which is fun, but it's very frustrating because you literally never finish. And Nassim Nicholas Taleb calls it his anti-library. And what he says is every time you read a book, you add 4 more to the library.
Oh,
book you'll never read.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating in a good way because it's like the sign of a true intellectual, not sounding arrogant. But you look at your bookshelf, you're like, I got to read that. I got to read that. And it's always gnawing at you that you need to read more, do more because you love it. And same kind of thing with content creating. I have this huge working file. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to do it. I got to do it. And just it keeps you motivated, but you never get the pleasure of actually completing it. All right. So let's talk about, first of all, we'll get into that at the end. So I want 2 different points of view here. A new financial advisor. So we'll fast forward, and you got this guy or lady who's walking down the streets of Boston. He sees the ticker tape at Fidelity. He says, I don't like my English major, whatever the hell I'm doing. I don't care. I don't like my electrical and engineering major. I think I want to be a financial advisor. So put that person, that's Sara, not you, but that's Sara. We'll put it on somebody else.
Yep.
What would you suggest that person does to get started, and not just get started, because the world is full of smart people who couldn't freaking sell their way out of a wet paper bag, i.e. they could not gain clients because they just don't know what they're doing. Not only to get started, but to be successful. So let me turn the mic over to you and just go into that little easy segue, if you will.
So the first thing is you need to make a list of everybody you know that could possibly do business with you. And even the people that you think wouldn't do business with you, make an Excel spreadsheet and you need to code them. Code them 1 through 3. Number 1 is this person would or not necessarily even do business because you don't know yet, but just this person would have a conversation with me about their finances. Code that, number 1. Code number 2 is maybe, but I'm not sure. And number 3 is I have no idea, but I'm not ruling them out as of yet. And then you'll add a 4 category. 4 category is they rejected me, so they're off the list temporarily until I can find a better proposition for them to convince them to do work with me. Okay, so make a list and start coding it. Now, this is the opposite of what every other marketing consultant, every other business coach out there is going to tell you. They're all going to tell you, set up the LLC, get the paperwork done, get the logo, get the website. But like I said, you don't actually need any of those things to run a business. You need people knocking on your door saying, can you help me? Right. And the only way you're going to get that at first, okay, is by establishing this brand. So you need to go out and have people know you. So get that Excel spreadsheet set up. But while you're doing that, yes, do start up the LLC. Do start up. You do need some kind of a website, but I don't even think you need to have a website at first. It's kind of ridiculous. You will have nothing to talk about on the website. So I just wouldn't even worry about the website and the logo and all that stuff. I would get on LinkedIn after you get the work in progress, because it will take you about a month and a half to get your LLC and your RIA registration or whatever, get the legal paperwork. It's going to take a month and a half to get that set up. But you're not going to get any clients in a month and a half either, because you've got to develop the relationship. So if you do this right, your clients, you should be getting your first client probably around the same time or a little later than all your paperwork and you're established legally. Okay. So, but you've got to get on LinkedIn, and then you've got to start asking these people to connect. But you don't say something like this. Hey, Beth, we haven't spoken since 20 years ago when we were at American College together. I wanted to connect because you may be interested in my financial advice.
Right.
Don't say that. This is like what every financial advisor out there says. And I think we've all gotten those LinkedIn spam messages.
Oh my God.
Don't do that. I mean, I have specific guidance and wording that I use. I can't say it on the podcast because then like I'm giving away what I tell my clients and they pay for, but there is certain things you have to say over LinkedIn, and it's really easy to say the wrong thing, but you have to look at it from their perspective. So it's always better to send a customized message, jogging their memory, something, connecting with them somehow. But if you can't, there are standard messages that you can use as well that will give you a higher likelihood of success with people that don't know you or maybe don't remember you or whatever. Okay. And then also though, your LinkedIn profile should be robust. Okay. It should have a nice picture of you. Do not include one of these pictures of you that's like cropped off and you can see that you had your arm around somebody in like Cancun.
Oh, right. Oh.
Not that, and some people say, oh, like I've got gray hair or I'm fat now or whatever. Like it matters less. What matters is that you look professional and you look comfortable and you look relaxed and that you just at least made some effort to be professional in the photo. Okay. So you can, and it's not saying that you can't have like someone take an iPhone picture of you, but it just can't look like it's thrown together.
Yeah.
Have a nice banner photo in the background, and then have your LinkedIn profile be about other people and how you think you can help them. Okay. Don't say this like cliche about like, as a financial advisor, I put my clients' best interests first. I'm, a fee-only investment advisor in the state of Maryland. I help people with retirement planning, tax planning, college planning, blah, 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 blah. It's like, that's all about you, man. Like make it about the end client. So something like this, let's say you want to help divorcees. Hey, let's say you've been through a divorce, right? I know from going through a divorce that divorce is probably one of the hardest transitions that anybody could ever go through in life. And as someone who's knowledgeable about the financial repercussions of that, I will walk with you through the various stages of divorce adjustment that you will go through. I have a newsletter on this about them. Okay,
this is insanely awesome, Sarah. I just need to interject that. All right, don't give away too much, but that's that, my friends. Just real quick, trust me, as someone who's been in this business a long time, I've seen a million people say I help people with retirement planning. No one gives a crap. Literally, no one gives a crap. People do give a crap.
I've heard it before.